Alright, so this is my 1985 Honda Lead scooter. These are sold in America as a Honda Aero, in Japan as the Honda Lead. This one's an 80cc two-stroke, making it an NH80, but they also came in a 50 and a 125, but I'm not actually sure if the 125 is a two-stroke or not. The 50 and the 80 definitely are. It's oil injected, which means I don't have to mix the oil and the fuel separately. It's just got a separate tank and it injects the oil into the intake manifold just after the carburetor. Because being two-stroke, there's no oil in the crankcase, the air actually flows through the crankcase, and so there's oil mixed with the fuel, and the fuel gets on everything and oils everything. So from a simplicity point of view, that's awesome. And two-strokes actually make a bit more power for the displacement as well, because they're making power every stroke rather than every second stroke rather than every fourth stroke, like on a four-stroke engine. And they sound cool. So this is actually the highest power output 80cc scooter when it was built. It makes about 6.5 horsepower when new. I think mine's pretty close to that because the top speed's about what we expect. It's CVT, so there's no gears on it. It's automatic effectively. But what CVT means is it's not like a car auto where you can still feel it changing gears. It's a variable ratio, so instead of having, I don't know, 4 gears or 5 gears, it's pretty much got an infinite amount of gears, and the drive belt sort of gets squeezed between 2 cones to actually change the final drive ratio. And as you accelerate, the centrifugal force of the RPM just changes the ratio to match exactly what speed you're doing. So it'll hold a consistent RPM. Like you can hear, it's pretty much just a normal engine note. Out of the way, birds. You can hear it's just a normal engine note as I'm riding around, but I'm accelerating and decelerating, and it just sort of always stays at the right RPM. So CVT is an awesome system. It's hard to make it hold high power, but it can. Like they put it in, I think it was Williams put it in an F1 car one year, and it got banned instantly because, wow, that's a brand new road there. And no, that's not been there before. Yeah, Williams put it in an F1 car, and they got banned instantly because it keeps it exactly at peak power. This one's a bit slow sometimes. Now it ramps up. There's the ratio. Now we're going again. I think it's a bit sticky. I've cleaned it. I don't know why. This one's, it's pretty much completely stock. I've done some maintenance to it, changed the final drive, gear, oil. I felt slippery on that gravel. The only mod I've done to this is I've changed the main jet in the carby from an 89 to a 90 size, which makes it slightly richer, wide open. Because from the factory, these were sold at a time when everyone was buying things like this to chase fuel economy, and Honda sort of purposely made them lean top end to get the fuel economy higher. What you could feel when you were riding it is once you actually went wide open, it would actually like almost sort of stutter and slow down a little bit. So they had which got at the fuel economy, but it meant it was actually a bit slower than it could be. So it's pretty standard. You change the main jet to a 90, and now it's a lot happier wide open. So the top speed is about 70 kilometers an hour, which it's enough to get around. Like I ride this to work and back, and on the 80 and 100 sections, people just have to go past you and deal with it. We'll stop down here somewhere and we'll do a 0 to, I'll say 0 to 100, but it doesn't do 100, but we can do a 0 to 70 test if you can read the speedo. I'll call it out as I'm going. Speaking of the dash, I've got an oil light to actually tell me when the oil injection tank is low, which is nice because a lot of stuff doesn't have that. But the bigger one is it's got a fuel gauge, which seems really uncommon, even on like bigger, more expensive bikes. They don't have fuel gauges. You have to just like open the tank and look inside it. I tried to scratch my nose, but I'm wearing a helmet. Yeah, you have to just open it and look inside and guess how much fuel you have. But this has a gauge, which is nice. It's glad as well, because I tried to drive it out into the mountains the other day to do some toge runs, and then ran out of, used more of my fuel getting there than I had to get home, so that was interesting. But we'll stop up now. We'll give it a big launch. So I'll call it speed as we're going. Ready? There's 20, 30, you can hear the CVT ratioing up now, 40 kilometers an hour, 50, come on, we'll get into the speed tuck position, 55, 60, oh she's ramping up now, 65, oh 67, come on, there's 70, 71 maybe? Yeah, we're running out of road. Yeah, okay, so it will get to about, I don't know, 75 on like flat ground. But the other thing, it feels like it's going to explode when you're revving it like that. So normally if I'm cruising around somewhere, I sort of stay around 60 unless I really want to, unless I'm like, I don't know, just want to give it some. But yeah, about 60 is where it feels sort of happy. And it holds, because it's an 80, not as 50, it holds 60 up hills pretty well. Like this is sort of 3/4 throttle and we're cruising at 55. It's a steep-ish hill. It's all happy. It's pretty fun to throw it around. Like it's got plenty of grip. These tyres are pretty old on it. It's got enough grip that you can actually like scrape your knee on the ground, but only turning right. I found out the hard way, if you try and do it going left, the CVT case hits the ground and it low sides. So I did that twice till I figured out why I kept crashing turning left. But it's super, one thing I was super impressed about is it's super stable. Like at speed, I pretty much do all the steering with just like leaning it and it turns. But if you try and like reef the bars around when you're going fast, they're really heavy. Like it's like rock solid when you're actually going fast. It's got like pretty basic suspension. One of the cool things about it is the front suspension geometry. It's not like telescopic forks. They're front trailing arms. So I'll probably stop and have a look at that after. But what it means is when you brake, it actually lifts the front end, so it doesn't like dive. It's got really good anti-squat geometry. I think it has a bit too much anti-squat geometry to a point, but what that does is it means you've got a lot of like front grip under brakes because it's like pushing the front wheel into the ground, so it's pretty much impossible to lock the front wheel. One of the other nice things about this compared to a more modern scooter is it's got a really big, long, flat deck. I think partially because on a modern scooter, the piston is flat pointing forwards, so it means that you've got a big space under the seat for like a helmet compartment or something. This one doesn't have that. There's not a big space under the seat. I do have this glove box in here, but what it means is that the deck space, like where my feet are, is really big. So there's people up here, we'll just leave them alone. So what it means is that if I'm cruising along, I can slide it. It's meant to hold 2 people, so I've got foot pegs down here. Actually, you can see on this camera, there's foot pegs down here for passenger. What it means is I can slide right back on the seat and put my feet up here, and I'm pretty much got like a Harley cruiser sort of position. So if I'm just like cruising around to work and back, I can sit right back, put my feet up. Like it's super, super chill, nice to ride around. And then if I'm going a bit faster and having a bit of fun, I can put my feet right up on where the passenger pegs are. And then you've got like in a good, nice, sporty position to actually throw it around and get your knee on the ground and whatever else you want to do. The thing that kills the sportiness of it the most, I guess, is the brakes. It's got drums front and rear, and they're fine like initially, but they get hot really fast. Like if you're coming in super hot down a hill, it'll cook the brakes and then you run out of brakes pretty quickly. So that's not the best, but you can deal with that. There is a model that was sold in Japan only called the Lead SS, and it has a tacho and it's got a disc brake front end. So I would swap to the disc brake front end because the parts are really cheap for these, but the disc brake front end has this ugly reservoir that sticks out like here for the hydraulic fluid, and I don't like that. So, and I prefer this dash without the tacho as well. I was looking for a Honda Lead specifically, and I tracked this one down. I really just like the look of them. It's got like a really cool like 80s futurism sort of thing, which is, you saw my intro that I made, which is good fun to make. It's got, yeah, I really like the look of these. It looks like it looks like what the future was supposed to look like, but it hasn't ended up looking like that. Oh, we got good speed down this hill. Woo, do it 60! Now, one thing I'm looking forward to that I mentioned on one of my other videos is I have a Honda NSR50 coming, which is like a miniature race version of it's like a mini 50cc race bike. It's a mini version of the NSR 250, or it's actually meant to be a mini version of the NSR 500. But I should have that in hopefully within a month. So I'll be putting up a heap of videos on that if you want to see that. I'm working hard to get to my next big goal, 10,000 subscribers. So if you can help me out with that, that'd be great. I'm putting out 1 video a week until I get there. So that's my commitment. Hopefully I can stick to that. If I don't, you have my permission to downvote everything I've ever put up and leave the channel completely. So it does actually have enough power to do wheelies adjust, but you really got to help it along. It doesn't, it's definitely not doing power wheelies, I can tell you that. Now, this is a good knee down corner if there's not covered in gravel like it is at the moment from trucks and stuff. Whew! Here, let's see if we can get it to do a wheelie. Nope. Got to go a bit more RPM to get it on the power band, and then it'll do it. That's better. It's two-stroke, but yeah, it doesn't have an expansion chamber, so there's no like huge big power band or anything, but it does definitely have a noticeable power band. Now, as you probably saw in the intro video, I'm on my L's for the bike. I've only just got my license a few months ago. One thing that's really hard to get used to on bikes is they don't have self-cancelling indicators, so if I push it to right, it flashes right, but it'll just keep flashing right until you turn it off, and there's no click you can hear either, so you always see L-platers riding around with their indicator on. And this one, you've just got like a slidey left-right switch. It's got a horn, obviously, because that's a rego requirement. I've got parkers and high beams over here, parkers and headlight. And then on this side, I've got high and low beam. The headlight absolutely sucks, because it's just like a crappy halogen globe. And the high beam and low beam are the same power. They're both 25 watts, I think. And the only difference is they're aimed differently. But the high beam is aimed so high that it shines straight down the road, and because it's so weak, you can't even tell where it's pointed. So the high beam's 100% useless, and if I adjust the headlight down any further, because I think it's adjusted correctly, if I adjust it down any further, then the low beam is pointed at like the front wheel and it's useless, and low beam, and then high beam's good. So I think it just kind of sucks. At some point I'd like to put an LED one in there with like an RGB thing, which would be kind of cool, so I have like a pink headlight and stuff, but in due time. Basically this whole video was just so I could give a bit of an intro, because I've got a few things I want to do with this. I've already done a JDM taillight swap, because the ADM lights, they've got like a luggage rack built in, which is kind of handy, but the indicators are ugly, and it's got these weird like black plastic thing where the Japanese indicators are supposed to go. So I've already made a video on that swap, because I made it first because I wanted to do the intro, my cool intro video thing that I made. I wanted to do that with the JDM taillights already on it, so I'll put that video up as well. But so other than that, I think that's about it. So yeah, this is my 1985 Honda Lead. Hopefully you liked it. Make sure you subscribe, because I've got a whole bunch more videos coming. I've got some mods to do to this. I've got my little NSR coming. I've got the S600 we're working on. I've got a few other projects in the works that are on the way. I've got some stuff with the pocket bike to do. I've got a lot of stuff. So make sure you're subscribed, keep up, press the bell thing so YouTube actually so YouTube even thinks about telling you, because even then, anyway, I'll see everybody on the next video. Thank you very much.